I'm back, baby. Yeah, it's been a month or two or three. It's been 3 months, uh, and it was a break that I did need from the live streams, and I dare say I'll probably do it again next year. But it is good to be back. There's no two ways about it. So I have stuff to rant about. I have a few Highlands in the green room. There is some chat in the chat room. So let's just do this, and then I'll speak to you on the other side. Yeah, it is good to be back. It is good to be back. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go into the chat. I'm gonna go into the chat. However, before I do so, I want to do something else. It's been 3 months, and quite a lot has happened in that 3 months. So before I get into the chat, I want to do. I want to chat about a couple of other things. And the first thing I want to chat about, the first thing I want to do is there's a few absentees from the Highland Battalion tonight. A few of them, there's a couple of guys have got the dreaded lurgy. Other guys are doing this, other guys are doing that. That's it happens. It happens. It always is going to happen. Not everybody's available when these things are going live, but there's one absentee in particular who 3 months ago, when I was live last, was on with me and is currently lying in hospital, not very well. And that is Whiskey Straight Al. I know probably most of you, and anybody that knows Al or follows Al knows that he hasn't been well. He hasn't been well for quite a while, but his condition has deteriorated quite an awful lot in the last month and a half, probably. Myself and a few of the other Highlands went down to visit him at home a couple of weeks back, and since he has ended up in hospital, since that, it wasn't because we were there, since that he has ended up in hospital, and he's just not in great shape. And my hopes, and I'm sure most of you know or feel the same, that my hopes and prayers go out to Al. So the first thing I want to do before doing anything else tonight is raise a glass to Al. And if anybody else out there is having a wee drink, please, would you do the same to Al? He's confident he's going to come out of this, and I am confident if he keeps that confidence up, he will too. Always in my thoughts. And what am I actually sipping? Well, actually, the thing about it is, anybody who sees the color of that would maybe know what I'm sipping, and it's something that it's a whiskey that this sort of fits the bill in a couple of ways tonight, because I'm going to talk about celebrity endorsed whiskies, and this is actually technically a celebrity endorsed whiskey, and it's also a whiskey that Al introduced me to a few years back. It is Edredor, the Caledonia. So, and this one, obviously, I mean, Caledonia, the song itself, Dougie MacLean, the old classic song. And so, as I say, it sort of fitted the bill very well this tonight, that it's Al introduced it. Edredor is one of Al's favorites, and one of mine, and also celebrity endorsed, as I say in this case. So cheers again to Al. What else? I want to recap quickly before we move into the chat. Quite a lot has happened. Quite a lot has happened in the last few months, and never so much as Legfest. Legfest happened a few weeks back, and I'm seeing people in here in the chat that were at Legfest, and that was one of the things. Yet again, doesn't matter how many times I repeat myself, I still say it with the same passion that the whiskey community probably means more to me than whiskey itself. The people within the whiskey community mean more to me, and the personalities. And it was just great at Legfest to finally catch up with a lot of those people who I would describe, I did describe as some of the best friends I'd never met. And these were people that I finally got to meet. Pardon me, Mr. Legg, of course, Blair Conrad. So nice to finally meet him. So nice to realize. And this was the thing. that it wasn't just him. I noticed this with nearly everybody that I met. Almost everybody that was there, I felt the same thing about them. That they weirdly, we all had much the same sense of humor. Now I don't know why I say that's weirdly, but I think it's just because we come from all corners of the world, and it's a very easy thing to have. Especially, I would consider most of us in this little corner of ours to have a bit of a weird sense of humor. I know certainly my filter was down quite a bit that weekend. I probably said an awful lot of things that I probably shouldn't have said, but it was all in good fun, and it was all taken in good fun, and that's one of the best things about it. So I mean, say to meet finally meet Jimmy Legg, fantastic. Pete Head, Helen and Andy Widdowson. I'm going to run. I guarantee you, I will miss somebody here. So don't be offended if it didn't. Jimmy Jazz, James DeGilio, Tony Nelson. Oh man, Ralphie. It was nice to actually meet Ralphie. It wouldn't be the first time, as I said to some of the guys that were over. Ralphie has come in for a bit of stick from the community a wee bit, I think, simply because he's not necessarily gone his own way, but just or maybe it was just us. But as I also said, Ralphie is still the blueprint, in my opinion, by which I mean, the whiskey novice, I don't think would have existed if it wasn't for Ralphie. So it was nice to finally meet the man, the legend. It really was. Who else? Marcos from Glengoyne. Pleasure to meet him. And even to catch up with the ones from last year. Gavin Brownlee's. I seen Gavin's in the chat here tonight, and other folk, and it was just so nice to finally meet these people. Honestly, I think I could have came away from that weekend, and not had a drink, and still have loved it with every inch of my being. And we were actually at a point where a few of us were saying that we were literally 2 or 3 heads down in the whiskey community, that you would almost say that would have been perfect, absolutely perfect. But unfortunately, not everybody can make it. And this is another reason I'm going to raise a glass quickly. Now, there's somebody sitting in the green room tonight, but I want to raise a glass to him. Traveled all the way. I don't think you'll have to work too hard to realize who this is. Traveled all the way from Arizona for Legfest to Edinburgh, and had a wee turn. Well, that's what we would call it here. Maybe something that was obviously more than just a wee turn, but couldn't actually make it to Legfest then, and that is Drew Lane. And Drew, it was I annoys me that we didn't catch up again, but it's always great that you're here. So Drew, I'll speak to you shortly, but this is for you as well. So yes, it was fantastic. Got to Glengoyne finally. Good trip. It was really nice to see Glengoyne. And it just, it finished off what was a fantastic weekend, really. And then of course, the festival is in 3 weeks' time. 3 weeks' time, we'll be back from it, actually. So I don't want to talk too much about that, because it'll come and go, and it'll be, I know it'll be equally as good as it was the last couple of years. So can't wait to that for that. There'll be new people there that I didn't meet at it, or haven't met before. So I see Al's in the chat. Al, good to see you, my friend. So let's scroll back up through the chat, see who's in. Jimmy Legs watching from work. Jimmy, couldn't endorse that at all. Jeff Whiskey, good to see you, Jeff. See you at Glasgow Whiskey Festival. Whiskey with Molly, Ben, not well. So Ben, cheers, good to see you in the chat. Andy C, cool runnings. Gav Strams, as I said, good to see you, Gav. Great to see you at Legfest. James Morgan. Cheesemeister Stephen, good to see you. Hell's Wed, Andy and Helen, it was an absolute pleasure. Who else did I meet? Jerry Miller, of course. Yeah. Did I say Jimmy Jazz? It was so nice to finally meet up with Jim. Jim and I have had opportunities to meet in the past, and it just didn't happen. Whiskey and Wine Trails, once again, we'll see you. I'll be seeing you. Andy Cross, good to see you. Richard and you, my mate Richard. Des, Des and I have been having a bit of a chat about the rugby in the background. Barris, good to see you. Who else? I think that's almost Rob Smith, because it's good to see hostile but honourable. I know who that is, but I can't remember. It's good to see so many of you back. Cruising with Dom and Helen. And that's, hi Jim, I've been out of the whiskey scene for years now. Nice to see you again. Should be somebody I know then, maybe. Whiskey friend Alan, it's great to see you again. Let me see, Lee J's in. Lee J's not well either, so he's in the background. Relaxing Woodshop, David, good to see you, buddy. Al, as I said, great to see you, my friend. So that's pretty much me. Let me see. That's pretty much me down through that. It's rolling on quicker than I thought. Good to see so many of you in. It really is. Thank you for joining me on this Monday evening. I think that's me caught up. I think that's me. That's me getting on 12 minutes in, and I didn't want to rush through anything, but at the same time, there's stuff to talk about. And the other thing is that it is Jim's Monday Malt Samples, so I've got a blind sample coming up next. As a matter of fact, I'll actually pour it and let it sit for a moment in the background. And now, when I say I've got a blind sample, I know people, well, if there's anybody that's sort of new to my channel or wondering what the hell's going on, I'll just pour half of it, slightly more than half, because the third dram that I'm going to have tonight, I know is peated. So this is why I don't know what this is. So I've done, what I generally do, where I just blank out, and it says number 4 on it, but I don't know what that means. I just blank out the labels. So this will have sat in my box for dear knows how long, and I have no idea what it is. I don't know what it is. So I'll give you my thoughts on that whenever the time comes. So before I get into the subject of the night, I'm going to bring in the Highlands that I have around me. I'll bring them in, and because I'm just going to bring them all in, and we can just that's who, cruising with Dom and Helen. Dom's Whiskey. Good grief. Dom's Whiskey. How are you? Good to see you back. So I was going to ask, what have you been up to? But you've been cruising, obviously. So let's bring them back in, and let's just add them in as we go along. Here they go. Drew, Nigel, and Graham. Right. Good evening, gentlemen.
How we going?
Evening. There.
Good to see you. Oh, Drew's having a wee dram as well. What are we on, Drew?
Oh.
This is a sample that I got at Deanston at the Whiskey Festival last year with Kevin Grant. One of the tastings we had, and hadn't tried it since then. Very tasty.
Good. So you, I know, Drew, you're just recovering from COVID again.
Right.
Did you lose any sense of smell or taste any more than you would with a head cold?
Yeah, it did. And that might have been one of the worst parts. Wondering if it's going to come back, how long it's going to be, all that. So I was very happy that it started slowly coming back, and I think it's back now, basically.
Good. I'm glad. It is. It's weird. People talked about it. I know, Graham, you suffered, didn't you, for a while? Was it you? No?
For a while, bad as far as the taste and all. But the smell took a while to come back.
That's what it was. Nigel, what were you saying there, Nigel? Sorry.
I think it was one of the Highlands that lost the taste.
Tony did. He did. For a long time. And it's weird because you talk about it. So I've had a little addition to the bottle fund from Jimmy Legg. Jimmy, thank you very much, sir. He says these faces are too pretty not to pay for. Well, there you are. It's just as well the rest of the boys weren't in the night now.
They were on the refund, wasn't
it's weird because I thought whenever everybody talked about it, about COVID at the time and about it, I sort of thought, no, this will not really, because I would tend to lose, even if I take a head cold, I lose my sense of smell and taste, like most people. But it just tends to take, my sinuses get very easily affected, so it takes a while to come back. But when you do lose it properly with COVID, even if even as you said there, Drew, you panic, you wonder if it's going to come back.
Yeah, that was a new one for me because that's something that doesn't happen normally. And I mean, this is my first COVID. This, far into it, I'm pretty lucky, right? And I'd been boosted, so I think the symptoms were pretty mild. Weird stuff though, with your skin hurting and just a lot of aches and whatnot. But this taste and smell, you think back to the Scotch test dummies and Scott and how long it took him to get his back, and it's like, boy, I hope that's not me, man. And thankfully it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm hoping now that maybe with the strands changing with that maybe they're not, it just doesn't affect the smell and taste the same. Like, I mean, there's Helen saying that they completely lost their sense of smell and taste for around a month and a half, and it's especially the thing about it is, I thought when I think about it, we enjoy whiskey. That's it. We're whiskey enjoyers. We're whiskey enthusiasts. But there's people this was the bit that I couldn't understand. There's people that work in the industry, and I was thinking about the likes of Billy Layton and Helen, what's her face, and Alex Thomas, and people like that. There, like master blenders, they're screwed if they're royally. I mean, that's them out of work until such times, and it's not just a case of it's nearly back. You'll go back to work. Yeah. Funny, who was it mentioned it? I think it was Billy Layton that mentioned it. That this is why. Like he said, this has nothing to do with tonight's subject, like obviously, but he said that he will retire in the coming years. He's putting down stock that he has to know that it's right now, even though it will not be open for 40 years. And that to me is just mind bending. And they've always done it.
Yeah.
But it's only whenever you actually hear them saying it, it is mind-boggling that you think these guys are blending blending spirits to go back into casks after 3 years, and sit again and rest for forever, nearly. Anyway.
Yeah.
On to tonight's subject, which has nothing to do with that whatsoever. Celebrity endorsed whiskies. Now, the thing about it is that we probably all have a different idea of what we think, because, well, it's not that we all have a different idea of it, but Drew, you mentioned something to me in the Hallion WhatsApp group earlier on, and funny, it's a name that I wasn't going to bring up, but I'll bring it up here. I hadn't added it in, and it's a bit like the Caledonia with Dougie MacLean. I don't know what the story was here. I think I read somewhere that he had hand-selected casks or something like that there, but I mean, will we ever know? And I think this is part of my issue with celebrity endorsed whiskies, is the lies that gets told. And I'm no Christian by any means, but it's just it just seems to be especially when I get further into the subject here with what's happened in the last couple of weeks here. It's what you get told and what's the truth are two totally different things. So one of them, as I say, was Caledonia, the editor, but it was the name that you named, or you mentioned earlier on to me, Drew, was Nick Offerman with Lagavulin. But the thing is, and I think what steered me away from it a bit was that Lagavulin, and it doesn't matter whether he picked it or not, or what the story was there. Let's face it, he didn't. That was basically his name was put to it. but it was really good. It's really good whiskey. Well, I was going to say it was really good. I never even got a chance to try it because it's so damn hard to get. Now, the thing about it is, it's the same as this Edredor. Does that then make it all right if the whiskey's good? I don't think so. I don't think it changes anything.
I mean, it makes it a bit better.
It makes it better. It means
good whiskey.
They're
they're not trying to sell you a dud. If it's a good whiskey, they're not trying to sell you a dud just because it's a celebrity.
Yeah. So, as Alan, whiskey friend here, Alan says, Jim Caledonia is still being produced as it is. Of course, we know that. So, is he still picking the casks? Well, that's the thing about it. Obviously not. So there's that yet again. Well, Jimmy Leggs saying here, Nick Offerman is the least celebrity of celebrities. We'll see, Jimmy. We'll see. And this is part of my beef with the whole thing. That these people who are considered celebrities with celebrity endorsed whiskies, the word celebrity is being used in a lot of cases when I wouldn't consider these people celebrities at all, but they're putting their name to it.
No.
Like they're a celebrity. I think that's the problem. Right, I'm going to have to give examples because otherwise it'll not work. First of all, Drew, thoughts? What do you think on celebrity whiskey?
Well, I think I shared that I feel differently about whiskey than I do about some of the other liquors that I've purchased that were celebrity branded. I think I go into it with a lot lower bar for tequila or gin or some of these other things other than whiskey. And, I have a higher bar and higher expectations. If it's going to happen in whiskey, I want it to happen for the right reasons and have them really be truly, be honest. Are they really involved in the process? Do they have anything to do with the selection? Are they in it for the long game? Or are they just trying to come up with something and, sell it in a year? I'd like to understand where they're coming from, where I don't really care about it in other liquors, really.
I think a lot of this currently has to be the Conor McGregor effect.
Yeah.
It was no secret that he made millions, and I've heard different versions of how many millions he made out of Proper 12. But let's face it, he made a killing on it. And the thing about it was he was actually making a killing on it while he owned it. Anyway, it was selling because he was popular. He would have, he is what I would actually consider. He is actually one of the ones that I would consider a celebrity. He's a prick, but he's still, he was still a celebrity.
Yeah.
And that, people knew who he was. People know who he is. And then he actually made a killing out of it. Once again, did he know or care about whiskey? I doubt it. It didn't make any difference. And I think if he did, well, he wouldn't have let them release the shite that they did release. That's because, let's face it, there's none of us would sort of say that Proper 12 was a decent whiskey by any means. Nigel, I know you're going to play devil's advocate. I said this to you.
I would say probably similar to like what Drew was saying there. Like as long as and there's celebrity behind a whiskey that's going to be decent and people are going to drink and they're going to get a good quality for their money. But if they're just using their celebrity to sell crap, like so much of it is, like there's what David Beckham made that Clubman stuff, that Hey Clubman, that was awful stuff.
Well, funny, I haven't actually. David Beckham's another one that I haven't mentioned tonight. Well, he sold it now. He's out. But Haig, the thing about Haig was, it was shite before he bought it. It was just cheap grain whiskey, and why, in the name of hell, he bought into it, I don't know. But he's actually one, as I say, that I didn't mention tonight. probably because he's out, but it was one that, it was legacy crap, and he bought into it. I don't know, and he certainly didn't do anything, as far as I could tell. He didn't make a great job of.
No, he was just basically the face of it, and probably hoping to sell it. Because it was David Beckham, everybody's run out and buy it. Then they put it in that blue bottle with the copper cap on it, made it look
Perfume bottle, yeah.
Then tried to sell it to the teenagers in the lower end 20s for the nights out, drinking over ice and drinking it in highballs and whatnot. Tried to make it cool for the kids.
But the thing about it is, I don't think any of us care any more about it now than we did then. So I don't think they did a great job with that one. And the thing about it is, however, I do know that the other thing to take into this, the other thing that we have to remember is that we are whiskey enthusiasts. We know what's good and what's bad, and even if we don't necessarily own what's good and what's bad, from listening to other people, we can sort of we can surmise what's good and what's bad. But to the outside world, it's different. Because I remember whenever my father-in-law, somebody bought him a bottle of Hague, and he thought he had won the lottery, sort of thing, because it was, that's really expensive whiskey. I can't believe somebody bought me. You didn't spend that sort of money on that. And but that's then from the uninitiated. That's coming from, as I say, from somebody that doesn't, and you sort of have to think about it then and go,
Well, this is the thing, we sort of look down on it because we're so used to buying whiskey for quality, for the smell and the flavour and the texture and whatnot, whereas these celebrity endorsed whiskies aren't aimed at us. They're aimed at people, that think they're cool, or follow their sport or their movies or whatever it may be. And
exactly.
That's probably bringing more people into the whiskey community because they may not even have ever thought of drinking whiskey beforehand until they've seen their idol release a bottle of whiskey. Like there's the Cara Frampton stuff. There's maybe a kind of boxers. People who follow boxers thinking, I'll go and buy that. And then they'll maybe actually think, that's a nice whiskey. Whereas, it's not, I don't know if I've never tried it. But they'll maybe move on and try another whiskey after that and go, well, that's much better than that was. What else is out there? And then next thing, you have another enthusiast into the fold. So it might expand.
Always the voice of reason, you bugger. Always goes against my good argument. Graham, turn this around again, would you? Because I'm starting to wonder whether I'm barking up the wrong tree.
I don't know if I can follow. I don't know if I can follow that. Like, well, I literally looked up there how much McGregor sold proper 12 for. 600 million he sold it for.
So I heard 500 million, and then I heard somebody saying 80 million.
So that's not a bad pay, to be fair.
It's not, and do you know the stupid thing about it was he sold it to. He actually sold it to Proximo, didn't he? It was actually Proximo that took it off him, did they not?
He basically sold it back to them, effectively.
He sold it back to the company who was making it. Which is, and then remained the face of it. That's not bad.
That's bad.
Nice and front money.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to. So what Pete had saying. So what about?
I don't know how to do it.
Of what I understand, a bit is that when you used to be a celebrity, you step into whiskey as a mark off for kicking the bucket. Well, wait till we get into this, Frank. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to throw up what I have. I didn't do every celebrity. I seen somebody naming celebrities. I think it was Ben was naming celebrities there. So this is a good example. Now, some of you guys will know who this is. Drew, any ideas? No. There was somebody in the chat will tell me who this is. I know who it is. But I just want to see how quickly or see how long it takes for somebody to tell me who this is. Apparently he's a celebrity. And that's the thing about it is this is my point completely. I'm not going to let this run on too long. A boring show. Jimmy Nick says
Okay.
my friend doesn't know who that is. You see, well, there you are. It was Ben got it. It was Jerry Armstrong. This is Jerry Armstrong. Right, of course, Drew, you know who Jerry Armstrong is, don't you?
Of
That's what
course.
that is.
So who Jerry Armstrong scored a goal again. Here, this one now. This is where I sort of go, oh come on, surely this is a bit much. Jerry Armstrong scored a goal against Spain during the World Cup. Now, just during the World Cup, it was just the stages. We wanted to do the final or anything like that there. There's no way Northern Ireland got that far. He played for Northern Ireland, scored a goal against Spain in 1982. So there you are. That's his claim to fame. And now he's released a whiskey based on it, the Spirit of 82. So
Oh, God.
now I know where this whiskey came from. It came from Titanic. So how did it come from Titanic? Because they've only just started producing their own whiskey.
Yeah.
Literally, Peter Lavery at Titanic, when he was basically getting his own blend sorted, and he should have worked a little harder, in my opinion. McCallum found rares. How are you doing, Doc? I haven't seen you in ages. I think I'm estimating here from what I've been told. There's about a dozen, or there was about a dozen IBCs sitting in Titanic stores full of blends that they had bought from Great Northern Distillery, but hadn't used. So, and Jerry's not the only one. These celebrities, there I go, there's those bunny ears up. I knew I was going to use it quite a bit tonight. These celebrities have basically walked in and went, I'll take that one. And then they basically do a great big, I don't know. I mean, there's Ben, sorry, Jerry Armstrong was the Northern Ireland equivalent of Scotland's I haven't felt that good since Archie Gemmill scored against Holland in 1978. Well, who the hell was Archie Gemmill? Where's Holland? What's that? So it's one of these things that to me, you know, as I said, celebrity walked in, pointed at an IBC and said, I'll take that one. That's the way it looks to me. This is to me where it's just a bit, who's next? There we go. It's Graham McDowell. And I didn't actually realize that he was behind this until. Sorry, Nigel?
I forgot he brought that out. Was that last year, was it? Or
I was going to say that this isn't a recent one. This one's been about. So I think it's in trouble, is what I've heard. That basically Grey Coast is on its way out already. It's, you know, once again, I mean, I had never heard of this stuff. So I'm not saying that you know, it's just because I never heard of it that makes it. Jimmy Lake says, now that guy cleans my pool.
So he is a celebrity then.
Well, but that's the thing. This is somebody that, you know, got behind a whiskey, is failing already. Apparently that's not doing very well. Right, who have we got? Oh, there he is. Careful what we say, boys. It's Carl that has been from. One of them that walked into Titanic and said, I'll take that one. You know, but what does it taste like? Doesn't matter. I'll take that one. Carl Frampton has been. There's his whiskey. You know, nice label. There is where the word nice will end in that statement. Never tried it. Probably never will. There.
That's well, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what?
That's Titanic as well, isn't it?
Aye. That's what I say. That's another one that walked in and pointed at. Yeah. Now, this one's a good one. Here's my old mate.
Just watch he doesn't head kick you.
Anybody, he was probably pass out. I know one thing, like it doesn't take much to make him sweat. the anybody who didn't see my posts on social media this week, this is Jean-Claude Van Damme.
You didn't post about that, did you?
The doc's saying, let's take a purely rational approach. Any celeb whiskey has to cover the celeb premium, so it's overpriced by design. Of course it is, doc. And I mean, that's the thing. Really, we're having a bit of a laugh at this tonight, but it does still get under my skin in a lot of these cases. I know the story behind this one. This one gets me, and I should have actually had this as part of the talk amongst yourselves. But I do have part of what got me about this one was Old Oak. The story behind Old Oak is because now this is weird. One of the gentlemen behind Old Oak is a guy called Kevin Carson. Now, yet again, I'm going to throw up an old name here that most of you probably never heard of. Tiberius Minnows. And you're going to say, what the hell are you talking about? Tiberius Minnows were a band from Northern Ireland. They had one big hit, Celebrate, it was called. And you know, he's probably Kevin Carson, who's one of the guys behind Old Oak, was the bass player or is still, because they're still about, the bass player for Tiberius Minnows. So he's probably every bit as famous as some of these other buggers that are actually, but he's not claiming any ownership really. He's just in the background. He's the money. But his reasoning for this whiskey was nobody had called a whiskey Old Oak. I couldn't believe that nobody had called a whiskey Old Oak. And that was his reasoning for it was. Well, I can't really, and I mean, I know that's not, but there was and there is. There's an Indian whiskey called Old Oak. And as a matter of fact, the branding is not dissimilar.
The same.
Yeah, to the new Old Oak. Or to that Old Oak, because I'm saying the new Old Oak. I mean, I don't know how long that was been about. So it's one of those things that, to me, that was a poor reason for creating a whiskey in the first place. Now, myself and the Italians this week have been digging in a little to Old Oak and finding out. So it says on the back of the label that it's produced by R&R Distillery, who are a unit, an industrial unit, and an industrial estate. And where is it, Graham?
Sort of about in between sort of Cumber and Monterey. It's along that
Right,
Belfast road. It's about 10 minutes away from Roseland. If that's any.
Well, anybody outside Northern Ireland hasn't got notion.
Anybody down that way.
But and even, I mean, the two whiskies, one's a gold winner, one's a silver winner. This is the 3-year-old that my mate Jean-Claude Van Damme's holding here. And it's brave writing 3-year-old on the label for a start. But it's a silver award winning 3-year-old at the London something, which is quite incredible because the whiskies that R&R release have a 3-year-old and it's a silver award. It's exactly the same whiskey. And so is their 5-year-old. It's exactly the same whiskey. So it's just a different label on it. This one's Old Oak. Theirs is backyard whiskey or something like that there. So this is it. It's not rot. It's crap. Sorry, Nigel.
It looks very cheap looking. Like just the whole.
Oh, everything about it's cheap. Yeah. The whiskey, it's. I would safely say it's one of the worst whiskies I've ever tasted.
What they look for a bottle? What's the price on?
£40 for that.
£40
for a 3-year-old blend, grain heavy blend, very very grain heavy blend. Yeah. Now they asked me what I thought it should be priced at, and I said, well, it's in with the Bushmills and the Jameson range, because of course it is. It's an entry level blend, so you're looking no dearer than £25, which is what they're supermarket whiskey. And they just come back with £40 and £45 for the 5-year-old, which to me is nonsense. Yeah. I don't know who would ever pay that. I certainly won't. The thing, once again, is this people buying it because of this man?
Like, how many people is going to know that he's involved with?
Exactly. His name's not on the bottle.
Yeah, because like, if you're not into whiskey to start off,
it's not even on the bottle or anything.
Do with a whiskey, because you're not interested in that. And even if you are, what's the likelihood that you'll walk past that in the shop and go, that's John Claude Van Damme's whiskey?
And this is what's got my hackles up about it. You know, that it's just, this is just a celebrity. It's, once again, it's what I said earlier on, looking for the Conor McGregor effect. You know, sure, that's just, I'll stick my name to a whiskey and make millions out of it.
They're just making whiskey to gather dust on a shelf and off license somewhere.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
I'm so glad to hear you saying that.
For a warehouse if it ever leaves.
Who have I got next? Because I don't know, it's a surprise to me. Actually, the thing about it is, this is a surprise to me. I have no idea who any of them people are. Well, I do actually, because I had to Google it. The guy with the tash is Darren Cave. Ulster rugby player. One of the other, two of the other guys are Sean Muldoon there. Is that Sean on the left? I don't know. On the one of them guys is Sean Muldoon from Dead Rabbit. I think it maybe is. The guy in the middle, I really don't know. So they've released a whiskey this week. Now the thing about it is that there's 4 whiskies released this week. Oh, Hell's Wed saying god awful glasses. They're 2 glasses, and they are hell. In my opinion, I don't like them at all. But some people do, so I can't really, you know, that's each their own. Outwalker, that's what these ones have released. And not only has this got my hackles up, but it's also got Diageo's knickers in a twist, because it's got somebody walking on it and the word walker on the label.
It's very close to Johnny.
Now,
It's not a bad looking bottle.
well, these guys ain't going to win a fight with Diageo.
No.
You know, and it could just spell the end of that whiskey very, very quickly. Jimmy says he's seen that guy with a moustache in many an exotic video. That is a I'm not going to say that about Darren Cave. He was a great rugby player, but I mean, he's not. You know, yet again, this is me. This is my beef. This is part of my beef with it. The word celebrity. So and they are doing that because you can guarantee that there's no quality in the whiskey. So it's not like as if we're saying I like whiskey that much that I'm going to release a great whiskey. I'll seek out the people and we'll release a great whiskey. That's not what's going on here. I mean, John Claude Van Damme told me personally, because me and him are mates now. Oh, Jay, I just call him Jay. Doesn't drink whiskey. You know, so
he doesn't even drink whiskey.
Doesn't drink whiskey. He drinks apple juice. So this is part of the. Jerry Armstrong was the same. He doesn't drink it either. So that's part of my beef once again, right? Who else have I got? That is Floyd Mayweather. Just released a whiskey this week.
He's gonna have a comeback fight with her.
You know, that's. I mean, okay, there he is. Yet again, if I'd have seen him, I would. If I'd have seen him and nobody told me it was Floyd, I'm not really into boxing, so used to be, but not him. Look at that gorgeous man there, like.
You should maybe skip him.
You know, you drink enough whiskey in your life.
That's how you look. The man's only 35.
Same age as me. Oh, God.
Just a drink problem.
He looks like a cartoon version of himself. Now, the thing about it is, it just becomes a slagging session. But once again, now the thing about it is, where did it come from? Loch Lomond, because nearly every, I would nearly suggest that almost every celebrity endorsed Scotch whiskey comes from Loch Lomond, and there's a very good reason for that. because they're the only distillery in Scotland fit to make blends in-house. You know, so you go to anybody else, you go to Diageo, you can guarantee they're going to put the arm in, and they will, you know. Well, the thing about it is, so Alan, the whiskey friend here, saying that Wolfie's is actually okay. Yet again, Alan, I would say it probably is, because it came from Loch Lomond, and we'll get to that as well. But, you know, because they've that facility to make everything in house, and we all know that Michael's a wonderful chap and makes great whiskey. So we'll move on from that. Heaven's Door. Now the thing about it is, I've had some of the Heaven's Door stuff. That's really good. So anything that I've had has been really good. Do we know if Bob Dylan drinks it or likes it or has put his name to it just as a that bit I don't get. So
but I think this one's getting into different league, different category. That's getting into the Hufferman category. These whiskies are already established.
Exactly.
Getting endorsed by celebrities, whereas these other ones, like the John Van Damme, those are a few. They're basically just getting shit whiskey and bottling it as their own. You know what I mean?
Good call, Nigel. You see, yet again, voice of reason. Doc's saying XYZ just released a whiskey. Come on, Jim. They took some picks, and I mean that's the thing. Of course they do. This is what's going on. Now, this was one of the ones that this is the only celebrity whiskey outside of Caledonia there that I bought, and I bought it as soon as it came out. Anybody who doesn't know who this is technically Jack and Victor from it's Ford Kieran and Greg Hemphill from Still Game. I'm a massive fan of Still Game. I still watch it just over and over and over again, and I bought it just for that reason. But the thing about it is, I didn't buy it and hold on to it. As you can see, I'm sort of halfway down it. But this once again, Loch Lomond. And this is what I wanted to pick up on what Alan said earlier on. He said he thought Wolf's was dead. Well, this isn't a bad blend. There's nothing inoffensive about it. It's as a matter of fact, I haven't had it in a while, so I'll pour that in the back. Alan says 2 pints you pick, and he's 100% right. That's a little quote from the boys. But no, it's a decent enough blend. I suppose it's the only way you ever find out with these things is if you buy it. So that's, as I said, outside of, I suppose, the Caledonia is the only one that I've ever bought that was endorsed. But once again, they did this after Still Game was finished. So
yeah,
this was very much a coining in exercise, in my opinion. People love us. Let's just release a whiskey in our name. Back to the music. Blackened from Metallica. Never had it. What was it? Brandy casks. Yeah, brandy casks. They played music to it.
Yeah, that was an interesting one.
Yeah, so they played their music through speakers in the cask warehouse to
maybe
try and aggravate
maybe the vibrations.
Agitates maybe the word I was looking for, not aggravate. the casks and to, you know, don't know. Say never tried it. So, but once again, heavy metal fans. Oh, more. Haven't heard great things about this one. Don't know. I heard even less good things about this one. This was released recently, I think, very recently.
Never tried that. That's not been out that long. I don't think.
But I mean, it's Valentine's, so I wouldn't be expecting much anyway. Apparently, this is Drake. The young and I don't know. The young people maybe know who this is. Virginia Black. That's what he calls his whiskey. I think I went to school with that girl.
Probably.
Oh, I'm on the wee blind sample, by the way, as well, in the background. It's peated, so I did hit well. Well, that's very nice. That's along the lines of that long row. Jimmy Legg says he's Canadian. Yes, Jimmy. So there you are. I live in Canada, apparently. and even singers. And my old favourite,
No.
Now that I want
Balcones
to try.
CC Top. That has to be a good one. Has to be.
That has to be. That has
Don't
to
know
be
why.
unreal.
It has to be.
It's bound to be. I haven't had a bad Balcones yet.
But you see, this is the thing. This is what gets me. But once again, it's like the doc said in the chat earlier. That is literally, once again, it's like XYZ basically walking in and going, that one. And they put our name to it. That'll do.
Yeah.
Now there's one more here, and this one was a success, as far as I can tell. Look at him. Stunning. What's his name again? Sam Hewen.
So smug.
The thing about it is, I wouldn't pay for the Sassenach because it's too damned expensive. It's about 75, 80 pound a bottle.
Jesus.
But I have tried it. Loch Lomond once again. I tried it at the distillery, and it's loved it. Sugar Kitty says, "Oh my God, I've had a ton of bad Balcones." There you are, very hit and miss. There you are, Graham. How many
Fair
Balcones have you had, Graham?
Just
the
2. 4. No, 4. 4.
And that's, even as Jimmy Legg says, is a proper glass anyway. That's the thing. You know, that he looks like somebody that should be drinking whiskey. He's got his tartan on, he's got his wee dicky bow on there, and a proper whiskey glass in his hand. And the women love him. Once again, let's face it, Nigel's screwing his face up, I think, to say who is he? But
He was Outlander. My missus worked on that.
Outlander, aye. So that's what it's basically sold on the back of. It's on the back of Outlander. But as I said, it's a blend once again, but it's damn too expensive. So it is. But I thought it was. I tried it, as I say. Now that being said, maybe caught up in the whimsical tasting of it all in the distillery. It was lovely.
Was it
Jimmy
blend? Is
Legg-
it? Is it single
It's a
malt?
blend. Aye, it's a blend once again. Jimmy
How
says
you
his wife
charge
is on.
£75 for it then?
Hmm?
How is he charging £75 for it if it's only just like a blend?
It's a nice bottle.
This bottle.
Oh.
You know, it's so generally, and I mean that's the thing. There's no way I was close to hitting them all there because Ben listed ones off earlier on. I hadn't even noticed. So, you know, it's coining in. Of course, it's coining in. There's no two ways about it.
I think we'd all do it if we could. If I could rock up and say, right, buy a whiskey and a brand and release it.
Thing is, but would you not actually care what the whiskey tasted like?
Well, I
know-
would because I like whiskey, but at the end of the day,
Right.
I can see through people who
The
don't
thing
like
is,
whiskey, I can make it a pound.
I reckon
I'm
Mr.
basically-
Tweed would look great in a bottle.
Mr. Tweed. Well, I'm basing this all on
Mr. Tweed.
basing most of this on that Jean-Claude Van Damme Old Oak. And basically, I think what sums this up best for me is that people are being sold a pup, and that the whiskey is garbage. It is utter garbage. You know, anybody that thinks differently about it is a mug.
But
Uh,
how well realistically is it going to do? Like outside the whiskey community, who knows about it?
even within the whiskey community, well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
Nigel. This
Like,
was the bit.
it's not advertised on TV. It's not advertised on the radio. You don't see it anywhere else other than whiskey forums or Instagram
That's
or
true.
just group chats and whatnot. Like,
And then he didn't do himself any favors either because he went on the TV and made a mug of himself on the Late Show. And
Oh, he really did. I heard about that.
I've never seen that.
He mixed up
didn't.
Belfast and Dublin.
He mixed up Belfast and Dublin. He didn't make himself any friends, put it like that. And he was sweating. The thing, what gets me is he's a mate, you know. So I have to be.
Don't lie, Jim. You're just afraid he's going to kick you.
The thing about it was, he genuinely seemed like a nice guy. That's the thing. But I just cannot get with what they're doing. To me, there's a veil of lies in Irish whiskey as it is. and the thing about it is, it's gossamer thin in places, but I never heard lies like it, like I heard the other day. Never in my life have I heard so many lies told in one place in a day about whiskey from people who openly said off screen, I don't know the first damn thing about whiskey. And as soon as it was a camera pointed in their face, they were Robert Patterson.
I thought you were going to say hello to that glass there for a moment, Jim.
Richard Patterson. That was I see that. Always do that one. Always mix
How
that
are
one.
you? Very
Richard,
well. Thank you.
The nose, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This is lovely.
The nose Patterson.
Whatever this is, I'm drinking, that's fantastic.
You know,
Nicely peated.
another thought I had, Jim, was, if I was going to try to put myself in that position, are you going to wait around? If you want to really have control over the process and you say, okay, I want the whiskey to be this way, I want to choose the cask, I want to, age it for 3 years, wait around for it. You're not going to wait around 3 years to see if it's going to, sell. Are you going to source it? And probably you're going to source it somewhere else, but you're going to maybe have some impact on the selection process and maybe finish it in a different type of cask. And hey, I selected these casks and I'm finishing it for a year or whatever. And then you have a truthful story that you're actually involved in the process, and maybe you do like whiskey, and that's something I could kind of relate to. But I don't think that's realistic because these guys are wanting to turn a quick profit. They probably don't have an interest like a lot of us do in whiskey. And, they got the management team that are telling them, hey, you can do it this way. And they may not even know whiskey. It's just kind of a marketing spin. And it's a different goal, a different business plan than what I would relate to. I think because I was telling you, I have a higher bar for whiskey. That might be fine for me in another, like gin or vodka or something. I wouldn't care as much. And maybe I just like, the celebrity, and it's enough to get me to try it. Whiskey, it's not that way. It would have to be somebody that I respect. And the story has to be compelling and believable. If it's not, it just doesn't do it for me. And I'm probably not the person they're targeting anyway. You get right down to it.
No, you're 100% true. Never a truer word. I mean, everything you said there is 100% on the money. As I said, I think basically what my issue with it all is just I feel like as if how many do we need? How many more ex-celebrities most of these people are? I mean, their time has been and gone. They're in some cases quite a long time ago. And
I think it's probably, you're talking about timing, it's probably because Christmas is only around the corner.
mm-hmm.
Who's the time to release the whiskey to give people enough time to see
Well, that's true.
that it's out there to buy a bottle for Christmas? I think that there's so many come out at the one time.
See, the other thing about it is, but that some of them are like Carl Frampton's getting a bit arsey about it. About how good his whiskey is and why everybody should be buying his whiskey and this sort of thing. And it's like, well, if everybody takes your attitude,
that too. It's maybe the fighter mentality or something like.
Aye.
Remember McGregor?
Sure he hit that old boy.
Too.
Sure, he hit the old boy in the bar because the boy didn't like his whiskey. He told him his whiskey was crap.
Told him it was pish.
That's taking it a bit far. Like, and the thing is, probably the majority. Any of these whiskies have yet to hear anybody say anything good about the whiskey itself, apart from the people who have endorsed it. Oh, it's great. I enjoy going down.
They're selling the novelty whiskey. That's it.
Yeah, novelty.
You're a bottle of whiskey that your hero or your idol. Well, I'll use them words loosely for some of them.
Loosely.
You want to
But
have
the
a
thing,
bottle of the bar from like Carl Frampton because you thought he was a great fighter in the day, or whoever that boy was, Spirit of 1982.
in fairness, at least,
This is a nice
at least
bottle.
it's quite a nice bottle. Premium. I wouldn't use the word premium on there because it's not.
It's eye catching. See, that's a thing that's bugging me lately. Every bottle that's getting released lately has premium root on it, and it's 3 years
I
old.
know.
Why? Why?
And the other thing
It
about it
baffles
is
me.
that at least if you know who Carl Frampton is, you know that that's to do with him. If you go back,
Yeah.
I mean, like as much as none of us knew who he was, apparently that's him actually on the label scoring the goal that we all know, love, and care about. Pardon me.
Before I was
So
born.
at least it ties him in. But there's nothing, absolutely nothing on that label to do with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Nothing. And there's nothing on the back of it either. As a matter of fact,
No.
on the 5-year-old, there was a spelling mistake that I pointed out to them. And it was me that pointed out to them. It said and on so it wasn't even a spelling mistake. It said and then there was an ampersand as well. So they said and twice. And it was me that pointed that out to them, and they come back and went, "Thanks very much, Jim. None of our team spotted that." Well, how many of them did you have printed?
You get one of the old bottles that might be worth some money.
Ah,
One of the originals with the.
You get one of the original Indian bottles, it'll be.
But then, as Jean-Claude Van Damme, is he just another, more money behind this? Is he just there because he
hasn't even. No, he's not putting money into it.
He's
He's
not
making money out of it.
There's nothing in.
Really?
No, he's not actually putting any money into this. He's just making money out of it. The story went that your man that was talking about earlier on, Kevin Carson, knew somebody who played golf with Jean-Claude Van Damme in Japan. And apparently Van Damme had said that he wanted to put his name to an Irish whiskey. And they went, well, I know somebody who's starting Irish whiskey. And that's how it all came about. There you go. Oh, you'll do for me. And the thing is, we're all shaking our heads now. Now you can understand why I'm so pissed off about this sort of thing, because it's just, there's no...
Yeah.
It's like, stay out of whiskey,
like, surely some kind of alarm bell would have went off in his head to go, maybe I shouldn't go to that one.
But it didn't matter what one, Graham. I think it was just the fact that he went, I'll go with that one. What odds? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. But that's to say,
he's not to lose.
Aye. Well,
like, to be fair, it would be...
Like, he's not
it would be different if he had his name on it, I suppose.
Aye.
Yeah, but like, he's not to lose at this point. If he's going to make money on it, he's no money behind it. If it fails, his career's already over, so he's not going to lose any movies over it.
No.
I know. Sorry, Papa Q, Jerry, saying never saw a bottle of stablemate here in the US. Highly unlikely that you will, Jerry. Yet again, literally, these guys are going, and it's an IBC. As far as I know, it's one plastic cube full of whiskey, and they're just going, I love that one, and they're bottled up, and that's it.
I think they had trouble getting them on the shelves over here.
What are you saying, mate?
They had trouble getting them on the shelves over here because they were supposed to be out about a fortnight ago, but they only actually got into the bars last week. And people who ordered after it was released still haven't got there yet.
Carl, because we're on first name basis, not anymore, we're not. Maybe around here to kick my bollocks in any minute. Like, Carl himself, because Willie showed me the text Willie Jack in the shop and said, how many bottles do you want? Which to me is a bit, surely you've got somebody for that.
But I think apparently everybody that ordered at the start, because there was a delay in getting the bottle shipped out to them, everybody that first ordered will get a bottle that's signed personally by Carl Frampton.
Well, Jerry Anderson Anderson, Armstrong, Jerry Anderson's somebody else altogether. He's the guy behind the puppets. Jerry Armstrong.
I think you're Jimmy Anderson.
You're thinking about Uncle Hugo.
Jerry Jerry Armstrong signed every bottle and tube.
Yeah.
Every one of them. Like, fair play to him. Like, still don't know who he is, but like, fair play to him. Whiskey with Wally Ben's asking, is this quite clever? Anyone know how much Ernest Shackleton was involved in the making of Shackleton? But no, it just, I'm actually quite glad that I think I've maybe steered a few people in here to understanding why it's pissing me off. This just because it's just, as I said, it's just there's so many of them doing it that we don't know who they are. They're not, and there's no, as I say, my attitude to the whole thing is just stay out of whiskey. If you're going to endorse something to do with Jean-Claude. Why is Jean-Claude Van Damme not endorsing punch bags or or I don't know, something that's to do with who he is. If he doesn't like whiskey, if he doesn't drink whiskey, if he's got nothing to do with whiskey, stay out of it.
Yeah.
He was in there last week telling everybody about how it's back to the roots of Ireland. Of course, Irish whiskey, came about over 1,000 years ago and all this here. I was like, no. You find me in the history books where it came about over 1,000 years ago, because I've never seen it. Cocaine. There you are. Tom says that's a good one. He should endorse cocaine.
I think we need more of that.
Given the amount of sweating he was doing, he should have been endorsing towels or something like that. Anyway, that's pretty much rant over. As I said, I think we've all had our say there. It's in my opinion, it's just wrong. As I said, just stay out of whiskey. Leave it to the people who know what they're talking about. That's sort of the way that I look at it. David, the Relaxing Wood Shop, he should endorse the splits. That's a good idea. He's good at that. Stretchy trousers. Maybe that'll be aye. Steroids. Pavarotti endorsing the Atkins diet. Yep, it's all, Anybody anything else to say on the subject? I think we beat that one up.
I think that's a pretty good beating, to be fair.
As I said, he genuinely he did seem like a nice, he seemed like a nice enough guy for the thing about it was, I was speaking to people a few days later, and I'm not getting ripped into him as a person, just the idea of the whole celebrities endorsing things that they don't know anything about. And as I said, he genuinely seemed all right. But as I said, it was the amount of crap that was spoken, the amount of anyway.
I think the whole thing's about like tax evasion. So it's like, but none of us like it. But if we could do it, we'd all be at it.
I love tax evasion. It's great. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
Yeah, but they would all complain about millionaires and whatnot, their offshore accounts. But like, if we could do it, we'd be at it too. Same with the whiskey. If we were in the position to throw out a whiskey there that would make money and make us a quick buck, we'd do it as well.
As I said, Nigel, yes. But anything, maybe something that you knew something about would be the better. Would be more along the lines.
Obviously, like, if you could do it the right way, that would be all.
I do a bit of homework behind it first.
That would all be all well and good, but at the end of the day, like, most people are just out there for the quick buck, and that's the long and the short of it.
Well, and the sad thing is, if it really didn't work, it would just go away, right? But it keeps happening. So somehow they're getting enough money out of it to offset the marketing cost in using a celebrity, whatever they're charging, if there's a fee involved or whatever. But if it was not working and they were losing money hand over fist with these endorsements or whatever, I think it would just go away. But man, it seems like it's even happening at a faster rate lately. After you hear these success stories, it's like what everybody's maybe, got in mind is going to happen for them. But it is kind of sad.
Indeed. Nigel, I don't know if you read that, but Ben suggests that your blended whiskey would be called Double Decker. Took Nigel a moment there to get that one. Nigel's a bus driver, in case anybody knows. And that's a good point from Alan. And I mean, I think actually that sums it up very well. Good whiskies don't need a celeb; the shit ones do. Yeah. That's a fair statement there. Actually, that does sum it up quite well. Yeah. Somebody suggested Helm. Well, that was a good one. Also shares in hair dye, so it appears, from Jean-Claude Van Damme. So maybe she'd be endorsing hair dye. But no, as I said, that's just that pretty much wraps it up. But wraps it up a bit sharper than I only get through a dram and a bit, and I poured it all of them. Turns out, and this is bizarre. So this one, if anybody wasn't in earlier on, this was blind. Pardon me. Whenever I poured it, I've just a moment ago ripped the blue bit of paper that was covering it up. It turns out it's Thompson Brothers Kalila 2012 10-year-old from the Royal Malted Whiskies, 270 bottles. This was given to me by Reuben Duff. Now, I know that because I've written his name on it. Reuben, I know Reuben's name. A few of us know Reuben. I remember the joke came about at the start where it was just R Duff. So we all thought it was somebody else. And Reuben met him a couple of times. He's come into the shop a time or two. Lovely big guy. Gave me a few samples the last time he was in. So I had actually pulled. The reason why I went for the blind sample second was because the third bottle that I was going to have tonight was this, which is actually Reuben's Kalila only infinity bottle, ranges from 8-year-old to 25-year-old. So I haven't actually got around to pouring any of that. So I'll probably not even bother pouring that tonight now, because it turns out that I've been drinking Kalila anyway. What are the chances of that?
Not a bad setup.
Not a bad setup. And now I've got so much peat in my... what I'd actually poured in here, what's in the other glass, is the Jack and Victor. And as I said, it's actually not a bad blend.
Mm-hmm.
As blends go. But then the thing about it is, we're back to another debate for another time, that all these cheap blends in Ireland are coming from pretty much two places: Great Northern Distillery or Waterford. Mostly Great Northern Distillery. Grain heavy blends, and that's the thing, that they're very grain heavy.
They have to go somewhere, so maybe it's better that they go to these celebrity endorsed whiskies than actually into proper whiskies.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing about these Scotch blends that the celebrities are endorsing. That at least their blends are they're a decent whiskey in the first place before they put their name to it, or there's a better chance of them being a decent whiskey. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Maybe the Scotch just have more experience in making good blended whiskies, and Ireland's still trying to catch up after the revival over the last...
Well, the thing to remember is, Nigel, and it's not, you know this and I know this, is that, as I say, we're looking at 1-2 distilleries there. As I said, West Cork or Great Northern Distillery. Everything. I mean, if you were to go to, this isn't me. This is no slight at Loch Lomond by any means, but I would imagine if you were to go to Loch Lomond and say, "We want a blend," it'd probably be very easy for them to go, right, well, we've got blends sitting there that we weren't intending to release with our name on them, because you'll not see the name Loch Lomond on any of these endorsed blends. because they won't release them under. They won't say their name. And the only reason I knew the Jack and Victor one, that was the address actually. No, it doesn't. It actually says distilled by Loch Lomond on the back of it, in fairness. Loch Lomond Distillery. But I definitely think there was other ones that they didn't. It was their address or something just was on the bottle. It was Loch Lomond's address or something. But it just gets to the point where you just know it was them that did it, because they're not necessarily the only people that could do it, but they're the most likely to do it.
Yeah.
But just as I said, it's a better quality. And you said it there, Nigel. We're catching up, but this is the whole Irish whiskey thing in general at the minute, that we're going to be catching up for 10, 15 years yet. The Irish whiskey.
Every new distillery that's come out in the last 5 or 6 years is maybe 20 plus distilleries, and their entry blends, their entry whiskies are all going to be coming from the same, as you say, 2 distilleries, 3.
And it's the fact that they're
the whole
all
Irish whiskey market, the new distilleries all taste basically the same.
Yeah, and they're also grain heavy.
Yeah,
it's just it's so that was the thing about that old oak. It's a real powdery. It's like powdered sugar. That's what it tasted like, sweet powdered sugar. And I mean, it was. I would imagine you're probably looking at maybe a 90 or 85% grain over malt blend there, at least 85%. Because I know Prop 12. I think it's about 93% grain, 7% malt and blend. That's what I was told anyway, coming from Proximo. So the 7% of that is Bushmills, and the other 93%.
How can you even call that a blend? Why do you not just call it a grain whiskey?
I know
7% is not going to make a difference.
But that's the thing. If you'd read what's on that old oak bottle about how the marketing blurb on it is really bad about the blend of this.
I mean, the industry's to blame for it too, for they allow them away with far too much.
They do. There's too much. That's one of my that's another one of my issues, and yet again for another time. But I know the Scotch Malt Whiskey Association come in for a bit of a beating a lot. But boys saying that what they won't let them away with. They're not allowed to do this. They're not allowed to do that. Personally, I think that they keep guidelines that some cases, yes, they're maybe a bit tight. But there's a lot of stuff goes on in Irish whiskey production that's a bit loose. That they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Just my opinion, obviously. Just my opinion.
There seems to be a lot of lies within the industry just to get different names on the bottle, like to be fit to say Irish whiskey on it. Like the subterfuge that's there to allow you to get away with that.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree with you totally. It's definitely, and I'm actually glad because I know you've been longer in the Irish whiskey world even than I have, and you would maybe involve yourself more in the Irish whiskey world than I would. But I'm glad to hear you saying that you almost, it sounds as if you and I are agreeing definitely very much on that.
I sort of started off with Scotch and moved into the Irish whiskey, but I'm sort of moving back more to Scotch again because I'm sort of disillusioned with the Irish whiskey because it is all the same. It is like new distilleries. Like there's a new distillery opening up just up the road from where I used to live. Well, the distillery's not there yet, but they allude to the fact that there is a distillery, and if you go online to their webpage, I'll not say there isn't a distillery, but you'll chase yourself around in circles trying to find out any information about it. And the whiskey's £65 for the single pot still, £55 for the single malt, and it's sourced whiskey. And it's all coming from G&D. So again, it's the same as you'll get from any other distillery. And why would you pay that kind of money for stuff that you could get? You can buy one of these new blends or one of these new celebrity whiskies for 40 quid, and it'll be something very similar to the £65, £55 bottle. You're buying.
Let me tell you, as I said earlier, at 40 and 45 and £50 or whatever they're charging, far too dear,
Yeah.
far too dear, and they're just getting way above their station. Basically, that's the way I look at it. In Irish whiskey at the minute, there's no need for it at all. But the problem is,
There's a few distilleries doing it right. They're holding on to their whiskey and they're selling it at the right time. They're selling it after 4 years, 5 years, or 7 years, or whatever. They're not sourcing their whiskey.
But they're still charging too much for it.
Aye, but they're going down the right way. They're selling gin and they're intermediate until they get their whiskey to come of age. There's 2 or 3 they got there. For me, Irish whiskey, there's not enough of them doing that.
No, agreed. I mean,
there's tourists come over here, pump out a whiskey with the new product and sell it for £65 a bottle. Who cares about the boys down the road that want to drink it, that can't afford it? The people come over here as a tourist will pay the big money and we'll get their sales.
See, part of the issue is, again, and this is us straying off into a subject that's probably for another time, but the way I see it is basically the way the rest of the world sees it. I'm convinced that, yet again, this is us actually knowing what's going on because we're whiskey enthusiasts. We know that's going on. But most of the world don't. They all go, oh, look at this, that wee distillery there, fantastic. I absolutely love their whiskey. But their whiskey came from the same place as the whiskey that you just told me you don't like. I'm not going to start name names because I've done it all too often in the past, but that's what's happening. I've heard it happening. I've had that whiskey and I don't like it. Yeah. That one I love. Well, it came from the same place. So but that doesn't compute then. That because they're 2 different names. How does that work? They can't come from the same place. And it's just something.
No.
It just frustrates me.
Yeah. Nigel, you brought up a good point, and there's so many different Irish distilleries now that are putting stuff out that is sourced, and I know that there are a few of them that are starting to put out their own stuff. I would personally love a cheat sheet on who's actually putting out their own whiskey at this point, and maybe who's going to be in the next couple of years, because I'd kind of like to maybe keep an eye on those. I think Bud Jenkins said Teeling was coming out with their own stuff at some point here pretty soon. Maybe they are already, but I've lost the bubble. There's so many of them, it would be hard for me to try to come up with which ones are actually putting out their own whiskey.
It's a very short list, Drew. It's literally a handful. It's their own whiskey, and even Teeling.
Probably up to an 8-year-old by now.
Teeling are dodgy as Teeling are one to watch for the simple fact that you look at Teeling single grain, for example, produced by Teeling. Well, Teeling don't have column stills, so
their oldest whiskey at this point can only be 7 years old because the single pot still came out in 2018, and I think it was December. Remember, that was a 3-year-old.
But what you need to watch with Teeling is that they're playing off Daddy's name. So you have to remember then that they could release something that was produced in Cooley and call it Teeling. They can release anything that's been produced in Great Northern Distillery and call it Teeling because they were both Daddy's distilleries. So it still had the Teeling name on them, but it wasn't Jack and Stephen Teeling in the Teeling Distillery in Dublin. But they are releasing stuff. So as I said, the single grain's a good example that they release says produced by Teeling, but it wasn't Jack and Stephen Teeling in the Teeling Distillery because they don't have column stills. So they're releasing single grains they didn't produce.
Technically not alike.
No, exactly. That's the thing. So they're one to watch. They're one to be very careful of. That you need to, those guys. The thing that pisses me off with those guys is that they won, and as I said, this is a different subject, but they won that big it was a 24-year-old or something like that. Whiskey malt is the best single malt in the world job a few years ago, and Michael Morris now working with Hinch, who sold them the spirit when he worked for Quiet Man. It's all very messy. Said like those guys, Jack and Stephen, were getting up high-fiving each other for winning this big award. I'm winking at
For
him on the way
24-year-old
up to collect
Bushmans.
the award for the whiskey that he sold them. You know, so it's,
I mean, Ian, if you could, you would.
well, that's the thing. You know, as I said, this is what gets me about Irish whiskey. That there's just that great veil of lies in it. That you know, if you don't poke around, you don't poke around, and it'd be very easy to blinker yourself and just say, "Ah, well, I'll just." But you'd be wasting your money. Is the way I look at it, because you're buying whiskey. You know, so somebody mentioned it. It was Ben mentioned it. You know, shout out to Dingle. Yeah, and the thing about it is, Dingle wasn't always there. They did do a couple of releases very early on of source stuff, but then after that, they waited their time. However, as much as I like Dingle and I do like their stuff, when you go back into it, it is young, it's youthful. You know, still good whiskey. They are producing a great whiskey, but it's just a bit youthful. You know, so. But there's very few, Drew. You're literally looking at Dingle. Well, Bushmills, Middleton, yes, of course. Dingle. I think Liberties in Dublin are actually releasing their own now.
They should be.
Some of Tinting's stuff is their own, I think. I do think some of the Tinting stuff does come from the Tinting.
They're Tinting their single malt.
Aye. Well, their single malts probably their own as well. West Cork, obviously their own. Well, Kilbeggan. The thing about it is, anything that comes out of Kilbeggan is probably Cooley. So it's all the same ownership.
Probably would be still.
Story, but it will be their own stuff. But it's messy, very very messy, and that's why I won't spend my money on Irish whiskey at the minute. Roland, it's Roland. What's that? Roland McConnell. Sorry, Crawley and Donegal of a source range at £80. Yes, Roland again. It's the silky, right? Or am I wrong? Oh, Fernando. No, Fernando. That is no. It's not. Sorry, it's not the silky. That's two different distilleries. Fernando, you're looking at Sleeve League produce the silky. However, it's sourced, but Sleeve League themselves are releasing their own now, even though it's very small numbers, which isn't sourced. It is their own. And Crawley is sourced. Oh, it's confusing. And three different virgin oaks, one from America, one from Europe, one from Ireland. It's all taste exactly the same.
Oh, quite expensive too. I think it was €55 a piece.
They know how to charge
people say about that.
I keep telling people it's because we pay more duty, but it's just because I like to charge. It's because we're Irish. Ha!
They're just trying to take the hand of the tourists.
Yeah.
They don't care about the whiskey drinkers at home. They don't care the people who are coming over here in their rooms, and they'll go to do the tour, and at the end of the tour, they'll go, right, I'll buy a bottle. £65, sure, I'm only here the once.
Do you know whose fault it is? Drew's.
Didn't want to say that because he was
Not
here.
technically Drew's, but his nation.
That's why I was sort of trying to stay away from that.
Do you know, that's the thing about it? I tell everybody the same story. The American market is what made Irish whiskey so big in the first place, back when it was big, and it's the American market that will bring it back again and will make it big. And also, as far as I can tell, the Chinese market is actually starting to steer towards Irish whiskey, and if the Chinese market starts to go look down that way, we will soar again. But as I tell people, I mean, I know, we all know in here that American market doesn't mean as much as it meant the last time the Irish whiskey was at its height, because the Indian market's the big market now, and the Indian market prefer
At this
Scotch
point,
whiskey.
if it is to soar again, are we capable of keeping up with those numbers? And the distilleries that are coming online, are they going to be fit to make enough liquid to keep the quality high? Because that's going to have to be stretched.
It'll all be-
Here with what 50, probably not even 50 distilleries yet.
It doesn't really. The way I see it, it doesn't really matter because it's the same as.
If you're looking quality, you're going to have to reduce the quantity. But if you're looking quantity, the quality is going to suffer.
Well,
as long as Middleton survive.
Yeah.
I mean, remembering that Middleton are using the largest pot stills in the world.
Mm-hmm.
As long as Jameson survives in Middleton, it's like Johnny Walker in Scotland. It doesn't matter about the rest of them. It's all about Jameson, really. It's all about Johnny Walker in Scotland and Diageo. So as long as they keep driving it, the other ones could, Nigel, as far as I'm concerned, the other ones can and always will be behind that, and just everybody will get their share of it. Everybody will get their as much as we can produce. As long as they're buying it, doesn't matter how much we produce. If they can get.
What I mean is, will the distillers in those distilleries think quantity over quality? Yes, the big distilleries are making that load, but the smaller distilleries will want the part of that share too. So to keep
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Like you would hope that they would still be wanting to put the quality into it. I mean,
most aren't making whiskey for the love of whiskey. They're making whiskey for the love of money, and that's
for the celebrities.
Yeah.
You see the way we went full circle there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
It does.
I honestly think we've not only beat that up, we've actually added things there. That was bonus material for the viewers there. Half an hour's bonus material.
That's the B-roll. Keep that for later.
There was a common thread of dishonesty, though, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That's dishonesty was the thread throughout. Listen, gentlemen, I enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed that tonight, because I feel like as if I've aired my dirty washing there, and it's got me. I've said what I wanted to say, and you guys have said, and actually what you have said, it's all went in there, and it's actually added, helped, etc. It definitely it felt rounded. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to drop you into the green room if that's all right, and I'll speak to you in a minute. Cheers, gents.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
One more time. Oh, look at him. It's one of those things that celebrity endorsed whiskey. It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. The celebrities are going to put their names to things. We can't fix that. Most people don't care. I had a gentleman, just to round this up, the day or 2 days after Jean-Claude Van Damme did his thing about the whiskey, a gentleman come into the shop and say, "Can I buy a bottle of that?" And he reached into his wallet, and I said, both of us, myself and my colleague, were working in the shop, and I said, "Buddy, are you sure? I could recommend any other whiskey in this shop that's better." And he sort of laughed and said, "It's from my brother. He wants that, he wants it and all this here." And my colleague was sort of going, he's trying to buy whiskey still, But I think that's part of my problem, that I like my whiskey. I'm into my whiskey, so I don't want to I don't want to sell people. I don't want to send people off in the wrong direction. If there's good whiskey to be bought, and there is great whiskey to be bought in Ireland, don't get me wrong. There's some great whiskey, but there's also a lot of very, very poor whiskey. I know the same happens in every country in the world. It's not just Ireland. So I'm not here to beat Ireland up, but you know, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Listen, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's funny there's names popping in here that I never see. The 4-Leaf Whiskey. Cheers. I hope I didn't upset anybody. Do you know what? I don't care if I upset people. It's why? You know, a lot of people are out there upsetting people. Well, actually, I do care if I upset people. I don't like to upset people. But I don't care for celebrity endorsed whiskey. This whiskey, this is just so much. Thompson Brothers, Kalila, 10-year-old. So much clove going on. This is fantastic. This is amazing. This is amazing. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. That ran on longer than most of these things usually do. But you know, it was good to be back. So I've got this month done. Next month, 3 weeks from now, we'll be at the Glasgow Whisky Festival. So we'll probably do, I don't know, something next month. And then December, I've got a blind challenge for the Highlands. Most of them have already got their blind samples. The rest of those they will get at Glasgow Whisky Festival. So thank you very much for joining me. It's a pleasure as always. It really was. It was good to be back. It's good to be back. And look after yourselves. I'm muttering here because I can't remember what way I used to run this. I'm just going to leave you there. Say, look after yourselves. Here's to your good health. Cheers.